passionate, cool critic of our industry, Bruce Sterling.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, this is the Space Liberation Manifesto. Space is a contested site in our world. The physical space!
Free space!
We live in has been divided, partitioned and sold to the highest bidder, leaving precious little that has truly public commons. The privatization of physical space!
Free space!
Brings it with its deep social, cultural, legal, and ethical implications. Private ownership of physical space!
Free space!
Great zones of access and trespass, participation and exclusion. Private use of physical space!
Free space!
Becomes an appropriation of our visual space!
Free space!
Through architecture, so-called landscape design, and ubiquitous advertising whose goal is to be seen well beyond the boundaries of privately owned property. Simultaneously, private space becomes the preferred canvas for street artists, graffiti writers, and other cultural insurgents whose work seeks the reclamation of our visual space.
Free space!
The repurposing of private, political, and commercial space!
Free space!
Both have alternative cultural messages! Next paragraph.
The nature of space is changing. Throughout history, space primarily meant physical space.
Free space!
The three-dimensional Cartesian world of people, and places, and things. Network digital computing brought us the notion of cyberspace. An ephemeral, consensual hallucination, and nonetheless appeared to have an almost physical sense of place, a separate and parallel universe alongside the physical world. Today, as computing and connectivity become pervasive and embedded into the world, and digital information infuses nearly every aspect of the physical environment, space has become an enmeshed combination of physical and digital, a blended reality. Cyberspace has everted. Reality is inspirited.
The new physical plus digital space. The new physical plus digital space brings new characteristics, new affordances, new implications for culture. Its physical dimensions are finite, measurable, subject to ownership and control, but its digital dimensions are essentially infinite, subjective, and resistant to centralized control or governance. The new space, free space, opens tremendous opportunities for access, expression, and participation, but also for commercialism, propaganda, and crushing banality.
True.
Our efforts are directed at making this new space
Free space!
free space! An open, participatory, collaborative commons. We believe in space
Free space!
as a public resource, a global platform for freedom of expression. We believe each person has the right to create, augment, and modify the media environment that reaches their senses. We draw inspiration from the letterists, the situationalists,
Yeah.
Situationists.
thank you,
Keep trying.
and the psychogeographers, and the hacker community, from street artists and culture jammers and the game designers.
I'm gonna read this one better than you.
Yeah.
We claim the digital dimension of space
Free space!
as free space!
Free space!
On behalf of all world citizens with augmented reality as our instrument, free space! Thank you very much!
Take that, please.
So we're having some technical difficulties here on stage. That's what happens when we have a live show.
So we have to start right over.
No, I'm good.
Bruce Sterling, everybody.
That was exhilarating. So, good morning, augmented reality. Glad to be here again to perform your opening benediction, or rather your second opening benediction. You're going to be seeing a lot of me today. Doesn't mind if my first day's stepped on. I'm going to be doing a summary at the end with Dr. Werner Vinci, and quite looking forward to that. Yeah. And the Augie Awards. I'll be here for that, the only new media award where the entries get mercilessly pummeled by experts. So, why am I here? Well, again, why am I a glutton for punishment and returning to your event? Well, I'm working on a book. Yeah, I'm going to write a book about augmented reality. Yeah. And first I'm teaching it, starting Thursday. Going to Art Center College of Design, where I am the visionary in residence, again. I returned there to do a special project on AR. They pay me to do my book research. That's great. Your industry will help, yes. Layar. Layar is coming down to my design school to meet my students. And Layar is also supporting ARE 2011. Layar, love these guys. They don't just talk about looking ahead. They actually look ahead, they take action. So, what's your book about? This is my problem. What's your book about? Because, publishers, agents, the public, they're going to ask you that. There's a friendly crowd here prepared to share my troubles. I'm going to express some of my troubles with what my book is about. Well, my book's about augmented reality. Okay, what is that? Well, I've got about 20 definitions. I'm starting to collect them now. We put real virtual data into real spaces around you, which is a great user-centric, user-friendly thing, not exactly accurate. There's the Ronald Azuma definition, which I really like, from 1997. Augmented realities are systems that combine real and virtual, are interactive in real time and registered in 3 dimensions. The thing I really like about that definition is that it gets rid of all the awesome stuff that isn't really augmented reality. That's the box, so you can think outside the box productively, so that augmented reality isn't film special effects, and it's not virtual objects and video streams, because those aren't interactive, and it's not the first down line on the Super Bowl, because that's not interactive either. It's not a 16th century Baroque trompe l'oeil architecture, even though that's the kind of thing people in the Academy love to talk about. It's not Pepper's Ghost, it's not a thrill ride, it doesn't really aim to duplicate the world's environment inside a computer. No, who cares about that? It's not some kind of virtual reality that's more limited and less interesting than real virtual reality. No, it's an actual augmented reality. It's like saying that a smartphone is a kind of baby computer that can't do what real grown-up computers can do, and that's not true. Because smartphones can steal all kinds of stuff. They can do print, they can do sound recording, they can do cinema, they can do radio, they can do broadcast television. Smartphones can eat the entire internet. They've got their own geolocative mobile net. And that's where augmented reality is really blossoming. It's the things people remember about it that don't really belong in my book. No backpacks, no head-mounted displays. They are, what is it? What is it made of? Well, I thought about that. What are the components? I just started listing them. Okay, you need a screen, projectors, user interface if you got a screen, maybe a world browser. So you need some creativity tools for making AR. Can't leave those out. There's points of interest, assets, Augies, air tags, floaties, bubbles. There's action triggers. There's markers. There's markerless AR. There's image recognition, Google goggles. You can have all of Google doing your work in AR. Fiduciary markers. Everybody knows what those are. They were kind of the most loudly promoted aspect of augmented reality. They're actually going away. They're becoming old-fashioned. By the time my book is printed, people probably won't remember what a fiduciary marker looked like. There's links. Everybody knows AR's got links in it. Links to what? Links to everything. Links to everything. Okay, what about the physical components? Well, you got sensors, cameras, microphones, speakers, GPS, motion sensors, compasses, watches, timekeepers, indoor positioning, triangulation stuff, photogrammetry, RFID, NFC, barcode readers, maps, 2D renderers, 3D renderers, 4D renderers, so you can render the past and the future at the same time. Kind of whip through all 4 dimensions with your AR. Eyewear, haptic vibrators, smell. Everybody's going to do it. Morton Heilig was doing smell in his augmented reality in 1957. It's in the one sense that'll never go away, it'll never be a success. Maybe AR is best described as a network, you know? Maybe it's like a network of people who are doing stuff, a network of promoters, a community of people doing it, a community of users. It's a user's network. Okay, if it's a user's network, then it's got to have content making tools, search, post, edit, delete, ID. ID for provenance, so you know who did what for who. Social network ID, machine ID for the device you're using, bank ID for your micro payment system, text, movies, voice created by users, a user-created layer or augment. The cool places where I had sex with my boyfriend instead of my husband, Layar, for instance. And as soon as you allow that to happen, then you have to have AR legal counsel, AR police. You have your first AR cop at this event, I noticed. I was wondering when they'd show up. They're here. It's just so complicated. AR can be the whole world. AR for Google Earth, it's there already, with satellite links in orbit. AR literally can augment the entire planet. And why stop there? It can augment the stars. It can augment other planets. It's already doing that. That was one of the first applications, astronomical AR. Maybe I can turn it around and look from the other side. If AR is as big as that, what's the smallest AR you can be? What's the simplest system? What's the atomic unit of augmented reality? Just the core of it. Well, Mike Kuniowski would probably say it's the LED light. It's like just one pixel coming on in your environment somewhere. But then that still includes a whole power system and the wireless internet. How can I make it simpler? How can I make it conceptually simpler? How can I write about it in a convincing, simpler way? What's the model conceptual system for augmented reality? What is augmented reality? It's something that just got started, but it's also 17 years old. It's a kind of caterpillar. Its enterprise changes by the month. It's heading for an augmented supervision, which is head-mounted, mobile, massively multi-user, persistent, shared, dynamic, ubiquitous, made by multi-core dedicated image processors. It's pervasive. It's wireless extreme band. It has semantic search, pattern recognition, image recognition, context awareness, gestural interfaces, new dedicated AR protocols and AR data formats and AR global text standards, new tools for content creators. And after that, brain interface. Drill holes in your head and pour the augmentation right in. It's the larval form of something great, something that's frankly likely never to happen. Because I believe maybe 2/3 of that. And the rest is just words, sci-fi words, not an industry. And where is the division? And if you look that far ahead, it's an insult to the intensely interesting things that really are happening in the real world. I love to make stuff up. But it's less interesting than the real industry. You know, a speculation or a design fiction, it's interesting but in a specific and different way than a non-fiction book about a real industry. Why would my book be interesting? How can I make it more interesting? What is it that's interesting about AR? Is it the AR consortium, the people? Is it the regions in which it's taking flight? Is it the schools of thought? Is it the art movements? Is it the communities, the events, the inventions, the demos, the struggles to advance the industry, the applications? And what about the dark side of AR? The mass delusion aspects, the defaced reality, the 3D spam, the Nazi Layar, the 4 horsemen of terror, drugs, mafia, and kid porn. Is it all about the software, really? And if it's all about the code, how do you write about code? Everybody knows that if you put a line of software code in a book meant for the public, you lose half the readership with every line of code. It's a writerly challenge to write about something that's inherently unwritable about. And why a book? A book is an AR. It doesn't combine real and the actual. It's not interactive. It doesn't register in 3D. It sits on a shelf, a book. It sits on a shelf in the dark for years as a mute witness to forgotten times. That's the killer app for a book. I want to write a witness to the fragile beauty of augmented reality, really the beauty of it. When a techno-visionary dream becomes a reality, it's like a romance becoming a marriage. It's like a dream home becoming a real house in an earthquake zone during a real estate depression. That's what augmented reality is like. It'll be a period idea someday, because it's an idea from digital dualism, the idea that we can separate the real from the virtual with a hard division. That's like complaining that people who write books call books reality. Books aren't reality either. No nonfiction book represents reality perfectly. And the dualism between real and actual is going away, and you're making it go away. It's like the old-fashioned dualism of things that are no longer science fiction. When do they exactly stop? When do they stop? You know, the beauty of augmented reality is that it's something unreal that is striving and yearning to affect the real. And I hope I can capture that mythic quality of your industry, that code poetry. When I thought about it, as I struggled with these issues, I realized that was what had captured my heart. It's not that I need pop-up bubbles before breakfast. It's not the business opportunity. It's that beauty of it. So don't be surprised if I come and ask you for help. And have a great conference. See you later.